Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Chad, and welcome to my new series on Bloodborne. And you'll notice I've already skipped the opening cutscenes. I just wanted to go over some tips and tricks before I actually get into the walkthrough portion of the series that I'm going to do. And this is just going to be to kind of give you a head start, because if this is the first game that you've played in the Souls series, then it's going to be brutally difficult. And one thing you'll notice is that they don't give you a whole lot to go on. There's no formal tutorial. They give you a few of the controls and not much else. The first thing you're going to want to focus on when you're first building your character is the origin. It doesn't tell you when you're doing it, but the strength, skill, arcane, and bloodtinge, those are going to directly affect the weapons that you can use and how well you can use them. Bloodtinge and arcane are going to be more for a second or third playthrough once you kind of know the game and how it goes. So you're mainly going to want to either focus on strength or skill. For a new player just starting out, strength by far is going to be the easier build to do. Skill, which is what I'm going to do and what I did, it can be pretty fun, but you don't start doing a whole lot of damage until later in the game when you have your stats up. So you can choose whichever one you want. Just when you're looking at the origins, pick whichever one has the higher strength, or if you decide to do skill, and go from there. The rest of it, your vitality and endurance, those aren't as important. You mainly want to get your weapon damage up as much as you can first. So after you do that, you'll go through the cutscenes, and then you'll be here in the first area where you can take control. And there's a few notes around. Seek the hunt. That's kind of what they're telling you to do for your objective. Seek the hunt. Now, what that means, we don't know. And let's go through this first door down to the first area here. Okay, these other things on the ground, those are going to be little tips. This one's going to tell us, let's see, R1 attack, right hand weapon. What's this one say? R3 lock on release target. So those aren't really helpful. I'll just kind of give you an overview of the controls here. Your R1 is going to be your fast attack, like that. Your R2 is going to be your slower but stronger attack. You can just hit R2 and fire it off, or you can hold R2 down, and that does a charge attack. And that's going to do more damage, and that is also how we're going to do visceral attacks and also counters. And just keep in mind, some weapons don't have a charge up attack, so you won't be able to do those with that weapon. Now for your heads up display, the top left, the red bar is going to be your vitality or health. Below that is going to be your endurance, and then the little red vials below that is your blood vials, which is basically your health potions. And the one below that is your quicksilver bullets, which is going to be the bullets for your gun, which we do not have yet. And if you go over to the right top, that's going to be your blood echoes. That's going to function as both your experience and your currency in this game. And it kind of gives you a hard choice, because you have to spend those blood echoes to level up, but you'll also use the same currency for buying health potions, armor sets, weapons, things like that. So you've kind of got to choose wisely. The one below that is going to be insight. Right now we don't have any. That's going to be something you get from going into the boss rooms, defeating the bosses, and there's also item pickups you can get, Madman's Knowledge, that will give you that insight. And it's really only used for two things. There is an insight shop that's going to be different from the blood echo shop, and then depending on the number of insight you have, once it gets over a certain level, some of the enemies are going to get new attacks, as well as there's going to be different visual things in the world, and I'm not going to spoil that for now. So let's just walk out here, and if you've never played this game or any of the Dark Souls series, excuse me, or Demon Souls, the premise of this game basically is they don't give you a lot to go on, and it's brutally difficult. And it probably took me about 45 minutes before I learned just those few things I told you in this first area. And we'll go over some more controls. The triangle is going to be your health potions. And then square is going to be how you use items. Now you can see over there in the top left how there's that black square with nothing in it. That's where our items are going to go. You can see it lighting up there. We don't have anything, so square is not going to do anything for us. He's reaching for it. Come on, I know I brought a gun with me. Nope. And then your L1 button is going to be how we transform weapons. Hiya! Hayata! And that's just going to give you a different set of attacks, and it can also increase the range on your weapon depending on which one it is. L2 is going to be how you fire your gun. Since we don't have one now, that gives him a left-hand punch. You can see the normal R2 is right hand. So that's basically just your hand for the offhand. And you can also put a torch in your offhand, and that will light the way for you, and you can also attack with that torch. Now, the other thing is circle. Now, circle is going to do a lot of things. If you just press circle, it's going to dodge. If you're moving while pressing circle, it'll roll. You can roll any direction, backwards, forwards, things like that. And if you're locked onto someone with what we saw over here, R3, hit the R3. When you're locked onto someone and you hit circle, it's not going to roll. It'll actually basically strafe either left or right or back or forward, whichever way you press it. So that's going to be good for certain instances. And also, how you run. Now, this probably took me 2.5, 3 hours before I figured out you can run in this game. Let me tell you, going through this first area, it's brutally difficult when you're moving around at a pace like this and you have 6 guys walking behind you. So how you run, you basically hold the left stick and hold down circle. And you can see our stamina bar up there in the top left, the green one, is depleting. So yes, running uses your stamina, not to mention dodging or rolling uses your stamina. And also as you attack, your stamina goes down as well. And once that runs out, your attacks are much slower, and you can actually sometimes not dodge until that bar goes back up. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to talk about first with our blood echoes, you can see we have 240 right now. If you die, those are gone. Don't pass go, did not collect 200 blood echoes. You do have one single chance to get them back. You'll respawn, and you've got to get back to the area where you died. Now, one of 2 things will happen. They'll be laying on the ground in a red pool. It'll look something like this, except it'll be red. You can hit X and pick them up, and then bam, blood echoes retrieved. There's also a chance that an enemy that was nearby, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same one that killed you, will have picked them up. And you'll know that's the case because you'll go back to where you died saying, I'm going to go get my blood echoes. And crap, they're not there. So what you're going to want to do is go search the area and look for a guy that has glowing eyes, because that's your man. Now, if you fail to kill him, your blood echoes are gone forever. And with 240, that's really not a big deal, but you want to keep an eye on that, especially right after you defeat a boss, because you usually get a pretty good chunk. And if you just go blindly into the next area and end up getting killed, you can quickly lose quite a bit. And like I said, that's what we use for leveling up and for purchasing items. So to lose 20 or 30,000 permanently, that's a couple levels you could have got. Now, new players of this are going to come in here and see this guy and think, oh, no big deal, I'm just going to run up and attack him. This guy is meant to kill you 100%. Now you can see I've locked onto him, so now everywhere I move, it'll actually kind of keep him in focus. If you're not locked on, then he won't stay in focus. Now, there's going to be situations where you want to be locked on and situations where you don't. So right now, if I'm locked onto him and I press circle, like I said before, it's just going to strafe. So if I wanted to turn around and run away, I couldn't because it makes us face him. So to run away, you would have to unlock him with the R3 stick, and then we can run for the hills if we so desire. We're not going to do that, though. Let's lock back on. You also have to be careful if you're facing multiple enemies and you lock on, because sometimes it will not lock on to the one that you want. Yes. Also, another thing to note, as soon as you take damage, you can see a portion of our health bar was orange up there. If you counterattack before that orange bar goes away, you have a chance to get some of your health back. Now, if they unleash a second attack on you, sometimes that will automatically take away that orange bar, and it'll go down even more. So you really got to be quick to He's going to try to get an attack off on him, but we died. No big deal, that's what's meant to happen. We'll kill him in just a minute. And it pops up that very intimidating, you died, as if you didn't know you just got slaughtered. And you'll see on the loading screens, when this game first came out, it didn't have anything. It was just a blank Bloodborne logo. But a lot of those items, it's good to read the descriptions. A lot of them aren't important until much later in the game, but it's just something good to read. Keep you occupied, because you're going to die and look at that screen a lot. Okay, we awaken in the Hunter's Dream. This is going to be your central hub, basically. You can buy items from the shop. You can level up here, and it's also going to give you tombstones, which is going to be basically our fast travel points later in the game after we unlock them. And I'll go over all this stuff once I actually get to the walkthrough video. So for right now, let's just walk up the steps. See these cool guys holding weapons? I wonder what we're going to get here. They offer you a trick weapon. Let's get one. Okay, what I was saying earlier, you can see we have 3 choices: Saw Cleaver, Hunter Axe, Threaded Cane, all good weapons. The first 2, Saw Cleaver and the Hunter Axe, are going to be a strength build. And the way you figure that out, look to the middle section and go down to attribute bonus. The first little guy, you know, flexing his stuff there, that's going to be strength. The one with the hand is skill, the next is bloodtinge, and lastly is arcane. And the letters there represent how well they scale with whatever your stat is. So that first one is going to be a D. The lower the letter, the better. Except once it gets down past A, the next level is S scaling, which is the best there is. Now keep in mind, not all weapons go all the way to S scaling, so A will typically be your best bet there. And you can see they actually can, I cannot talk today, they actually can scale with 2 different stats. So for instance, Saw Cleaver scales a D on strength and E on skill. So that means you could put points in skill and actually get increased damage as well as strength. But typically, if we have a D versus an E, that could mean we might get 3 more damage by putting points in strength. But if we Peter Piper could have put a point in strength. If we put a point in skill because it has not as good scaling, we may not get the same damage effect. So it's usually better to put points wherever the letter is the lowest. Hunter Axe is the same thing. You can see it's got D and E as well as D for arcane. And then below the attribute bonus is the attribute requirement. That just lets you know you have to have that certain level before you can equip that weapon. And then up below all of that, you will see physical attack. That's going to be your main attack. And you can see it's 98 and then +4, +5. That number on the right is going to slowly go up as you put more points into an attribute that boosts that weapon. And because I went with a skill build, that's going to be the Threaded Cane. You can see right there it's got a C bonus, which is going to be best for skill. You could still use either of these other 2 and be focused on skill, but you're not going to get the same damage output. And also keep in mind, for a first-time player of this, a strength build is going to be much easier. I'd actually recommend you do your first playthrough with the Hunter Axe. You can actually keep that same weapon the whole game and completely wreck shop with it. Great weapon. But we're going skill because skill can be more fun. It's a little bit more difficult starting out, but towards the end of the game, you can get some twin swords that absolutely wreck shop. But we'll go with the Threaded Cane for now. Let's go up to our little gun guys. They offer you a firearm. Let's take one. You've got 2 choices here starting out, the pistol and the blunderbuss. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you don't know what a blunderbuss is, it's a shotgun. I generally recommend that one because it has a wider spread, and that lets us do our counter or parry attacks easier because you have a better chance to hit them. The last one is going to be a notebook that's strictly for online play. Basically lets you leave notes in the world for other people to find. I'm playing offline, so I don't need that. Alright, so we're going to go back to the first tombstone. Let you awaken. We only have one option, so let's go. Those little skulls on there reaching out for you. It's kind of creepy. They're like, no, please save us. Please, mister, take us with you. No, we're not taking you. You can see right there a Saw Hunter badge. There's different badges you can get in the game, and that's usually from completing quest lines or killing certain enemies, and that'll unlock new items in the shop, whether it's weapons or armor. There's also some items you can get as well. Okay, so we're back here at the start. Now, to equip your weapons, you're going to want to hit that options key. and go down. The first 2 slots on the left, this is actually kind of confusing. The 2 on the left are your right hand. The 2 on your right are your left hand. Not sure why they did it like that. So we'll go ahead and choose our threaded cane. See the little red blood spot that lets us know it's selected. Hit circle to go back. And later on, once we start getting additional weapons, we can have a backup weapon there. Does this no good right now? Now our left-hand weapon, which for some reason is on the right of this. Choose the blunderbuss. Go back. And then same thing, you can also have a second weapon equipped, or that can also be a torch, which is super useful. This line here is going to be your different armor pieces. Same principle, go to it, and then once we have more armor, we can pick and choose what we want. The last section is going to be our items. That's going to be the different items we can use. Right now, all we have is the Hunter's Mark, which basically teleports you to the closest lamp. That's not the one you want to use, because as you'll see, sacrifice all blood echoes. That means they're gone for good. You cannot get them back. So we're not equipping that. We don't want it. Another thing to note, this also took me hours to figure out. How do you get back to the main menu? It's like I press the PlayStation button. I can't. How do I get back there? How do I do it? And every time I exited the game that way, it was like, oh, you did not exit properly. You're supposed to use the system. And I was like, how do I get to system? Hit the options key. Go over to the little gears. Go down to exit game. I don't know why it took me so long to find that, but nonetheless. Okay, now you can see here. Got the gun on the left. That's going to be our L2. Shabam. Then R1 and R2 is going to be those attacks. Okay, something I think I forgot to mention earlier. Hold circle to run. If you're holding circle, quickly press it twice and you will jump. Fairly nice. There's also a few other attacks you can do while running. So we're running, hold circle, and then hit either R1 or R2, and you will do a running attack. And you can see the running attack with R1 is different than the one from R2, so you can experiment. It gives you different options. Also, once we transform our weapon with L1, bam, whip time, your running attacks will be different that way as well. What is this one? Oh, we already saw that one. No big deal. Okay, we're coming back in here. Let's go ahead and do one of those running attacks. Generally, when you do a running attack, most of the time you want to try to lock on just because there is a chance you can miss. And you can see his eyes are glowing. That means he has our blood egg. Dodge out of the way. Bam. Blood echoes retrieved. Something. Basically, we got him back. So let's keep trekking on. And always in this game, you want to make sure you check all the nooks and crannies, because there is typically going to be items hidden there. There's not in this first area. That's just a good tip to know later on. Also, the game wants you to die, so frequently enemies will be hiding where you can't see them until you walk past, and then they jump out. And they not only scare the shit out of you, they will also kill you. So this is the first area we go out to. Let's grab an item. There's always going to be 2 types of doors in this game. There's going to be the first type. You can't open it. I just want to... Look, all I got to do is jump up there and climb over. What? Okay. That's the first type. The second type are going to be the ones you can open. Keep in mind, though, anytime you see a door, minus pretty much 1 door in the entire game, you can always open it somehow. You just have to do it from the other side. Alright, this is going to be our first area, Central Yarnum. So obviously this is the path to go, so we trek up. No, we've got to explore because there's always going to be items around. I'll take them. Okay, I'm going to show you another moveset, what I was talking about earlier, which is the parry. Basically, you're going to want to lock onto the enemy, wait for him to attack you. He has to actually be in the process of swinging his weapon. Hit L2. If you pull it off successfully, he'll drop down on his knees. You've got to make sure you're right up on him and hit R1. If you're not right up on him, you'll just do a normal attack and you'll have lost your parry. And they do insane damage. He's on his knees, run up, hit R1, bam. This can make some enemies that are extremely difficult go down in 1 shot. I will say though that some enemies won't go down in one shot, so always make sure you're ready to do a follow-up attack. And this is another device. This is going to be the things that drops down staircases. And when I say stairs, I mean a ladder. That's also going to be a similar thing that will open doors. Okay, another thing to keep in mind when you're running through Bloodborne, a lot of the times you'll see enemies on the ground, you'll think, oh, they're dead guys, just like this one was. No. As soon as you get close, they will attack you. It's like, oh, I'm awake now. Power attack. Typically, the charged attacks do the most damage out of anything. Let's see, walk around. Okay, so we've got this item over here. Can't get to it, this crate. You can either A, hit this crate, or B, you can roll into it. I typically like to roll just because it's faster and you can take out more of the destroyable objects at a time. Let's climb up this ladder real fast. Up, up, up. Here we go again. As you're going up this ladder, you're going to hear something scream. Don't freak out. It is a boss, but you don't have to fight him. Alrighty, here we are at the first lantern. It says lamp. No, it's a lantern. I just said it. Hit light that lamp, and it's going to pop up a little message. This now transports you back to the hunter's dream. Now when we die, we will go back to this lamp as opposed to that other one that we just came from. So you can go back to the hunter's dream here if you want. There's really not a reason to right now. Do keep in mind, every time you go back to the hunter's dream, everyone in the entire world that you killed will now be back to life. So if we go back to the hunter's dream, we can teleport back here from the tombstone. These guys down here that we just killed, they'll be back. That can be two things. That can be a good thing because if we need more experience, we can go down there and kill them again, get more blood echoes, and you can also do that thing to farm vials. So if you get to an area, like let's say a boss fight, and you just can't beat them, you're trying and trying and trying, you lose all your blood vials, go back to an easy area and just, you know, mob through them. And once you kill everyone in the whole area, go back to the hunter's dream, teleport right back, run through it again. It's not always fun. I take that back, it is fun, especially when you're midway into the game. You can come back here and just mow through everything. And once you spend about 3 or 4 hours here dying, that'll be so satisfying. Okay, another thing to take note here is this lighted lamp. That typically means there's an NPC you can talk to. Oh, you must be a hunter. Press, we'll get back to this in the actual walkthrough. These NPCs you run across, they can either be useful, such as this one, who if you do certain things and come back and talk to him at a certain time, he'll actually give you an item. Sometimes you can talk to the NPCs though, and it does you no good. It's just a waste of time. Actually, most of the ones you can talk to are a complete waste of time in this game. When we go through the walkthrough, we'll show you the important ones. Okay, we have an item now. Actually, we have 2 items. Hit options, go down here. Alright, Molotov cocktails. So we'll select that one, hit circle, go over to the next one, pebbles. Okay, Molotov cocktails, pretty self-explanatory. Throw them, they blow up. Now the way you throw things in this game is with the square button. That's also how you use all your items that are in that little bar up there that's flashing. Okay, I do want to say whenever you are going to throw an item, make sure you lock on first. That gives you a much better chance of actually hitting them. And like I was saying earlier, this game wants to try to scare you and then kill you. So as you're walking out here, you're paying no attention. Oh, is there an item here? Bam, this guy jumps out of the right, swinging like crazy. And another thing I would recommend you do as early as possible. I know you're going to be tempted to kill these guys, run through, and, you know, play this game. That's going to result in you dying a lot. One thing you have to do, especially on these easier enemies, is learn to dodge them and also parry. That's going to be so useful later on, playing enemy hunters, bosses, and the like. So you can even just go to this guy right here, spend like 10 minutes. We're locked on right now, so we're strafing instead of rolling. But just learn how they wait for the attack and then dodge. Just learn to dodge early on. I swear it'll save your life. You can do the same thing with rolls. If you're not locked on, just make sure you use your camera angle to get back on them pretty quick. Alright, let's try to pull off another parry. Oh, missed that one and he got us. That's the one downside to parrying, is if you do miss it, typically you're going to get hit. Let's go around here to the right. We'll show another important thing. Let's kill this guy relatively quickly with a charged attack. He did good. Okay, these guys with the shields. Let's go ahead and attack him. He blocked it. It's good as soon as you attack, whether they block it. It could go either way. Especially if they block. Well, he just ran through us. That wasn't very nice. I'm trying to explain something here, guy. Can't you see that? Okay, if you get blocked, you're going to want to immediately dodge back, because most of the time they're going to do a quick counterattack. And let's say you're doing your running attack and you run through and you miss them. As soon as you miss, dodge, because they're going to be trying to hit you. And that'll just save your life so many times. This reminds me of that scene in The Cable Guy where they're jousting. Let's get him. No match. No match. Okay, let's explore down here. And I'm going to show you the usefulness of pebbles. That's going to be used. You throw it at one enemy, and it will typically draw them away towards you, so you don't pull the whole group at once. It's not a big deal later on, but early in the game, it's extremely important. Just so you're not bum rushed by like 12 guys. I'm sorry, that's actually more important in the early game, not the later game. Let's get close. Get close. Select him. Throw a pebble. Oh, we missed that one. That was pretty sad. It's hard to explain when we miss. Okay, so let's... Now we have two guys' attention, but you can see that pebble hit him. It does a tiny amount of damage, nothing worthwhile, and that actually all completely backfired. But if you're not doing it hastily, it works. And these guys with the torches, they will typically do that. They may miss an attack on you with their giant axe, which does a lot of damage, and they will typically immediately try to stick you with their torch, and it happens pretty fast. Usually you can't even dodge out the way of it, so that's just something to keep in mind. You will die now, giant pitchfork wielding guy number 2. And we got to show you one other important thing before this concludes. That's one thing you'll notice about the skill-based weapons. They usually attack faster than the strength-based weapons, such as the axe and the saw cleaver, but they don't do as much damage. And that can be good and bad, just depending on the type of enemy you're facing. And you get 2 jump scares here right off the bat. So you're walking through, I'm going to grab this item. Bam, this guy's going to jump off the edge. No big deal. We knew it was coming. And what? We just scared you. We're not going to do it again. Oh, yes we are. We are blood. No big deal. Take him out. Okay, this is what we're going to show you. This works similar to a visceral attack, except you got to sneak up on him. So you're going to walk slowly. There's not a special button to walk. Just don't... Oh, that did not work out. You don't play nice. Basically though, it works the same way as the parry attack, but you're going to walk up slowly on them. Their back has to be towards you. You get just close enough to where your weapon's going to reach, and then do a charged attack like that. As soon as you hit them, if you do hit them, they'll fall to their knees, run up, do the R1 just like we did the other attack, and it works the same. See, we had the opportunity to get a little bit of our health back here. Not a lot. It's no big deal. And you're going to die in this early part probably quite a few times. Don't get upset. Just try to make it back. If you do die, because right now, let's see, we have 1,467 blood echoes. I mean, that's not a lot, but you want to, early in the game, you want to try to not lose as much as you can. And I'm going to show you, let's just do that attack real quick just so you can see. And then we're going to shut this thing down and get ready for the actual walkthrough. Oh, here we go. This will work. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're in the parry animation, like after you've pulled it off, if someone attacks you, it doesn't injure you while you're still in the animation. So walk up close, charged attack, got him, run close, hit R1, and you can see that guy just attacked me. It did no damage because I was in the animation. So we were golden. So like I said, for early game, honestly the biggest thing is learn how to A, dodge, roll around, because that will save you from their attacks, and B, work on that parry. It may not seem like it's really necessary on these guys, but there's going to be a lot of bigger enemies later on where it's almost necessary to be able to pull off those parry attacks. And you're better off practicing now on these guys than you are on the bigger ones, because once you miss on those, you die very quickly and it gets frustrating. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you thought. If you have any questions or comments, then place it in the aptly named comment section below. And if you did like it, then do that and leave me a like. We're going to get working on this actual walkthrough video, and we'll get that up shortly. Thanks, guys.